Hello boys and girls, today we're going to look at page 67, okay, 67 and 68 on video, and you will do on your own 69 and 70. Now here what we're going to do is not a new lesson, but we're actually going to look at unit rates and multiplication to solve missing measures in equivalent ratio problems. Now what we mean by that, boys and girls, is for example, if you have, let's say, 3/4, right? And over here you have 12. Okay, what they mean by looking for a missing measure right there is this. What number would that be? Okay, in an equivalent ratio. Equivalent. You see that? Equivalent ratio. This right here is considered an equivalent ratio. So we've learned already that whatever we do to the bottom, we must do to the top. So what did I do to the 4 to make it 12? I simply had to multiply it by 3, correct? So you do the same to the top. 3 times 3 is 9. And that's the example that we're trying to work on right here. So let's look at that. Jill and Sammy are racing go-karts. Jill completed 6 laps in 12 minutes. If Sammy raced at the same rate, so the same speed, how many minutes did it take her to complete 3 laps? Okay, so we're looking, we have 6 laps in 12 minutes and 3 laps in how many minutes? That we're looking for the other minutes. Now, what do we know? This is always the first thing we need to look at when we look at a word problem. What do we know? Well, we know that Jill completed 6 laps in 12 minutes. So let's write that. Jill completed 6 laps in 12 minutes. And we also know that Sammy raced at the same rate. You can see it there, same rate. So that'll help us figure out that missing variable, that missing measure. Okay, what do you need to find? Here's where we look at the question. How many minutes did it take her to complete 3 laps? So we're looking for how long it takes Sammy to complete 3 laps. There we go. These are the first 2 steps to understanding a word problem. Find out what you know and what you need to find. Okay, I'd like to see your flower right there as well. And most of you already know that our ratio is going to look like this, right? Our equivalent ratio. So we have 6 laps in 12 minutes would be 3 laps in how long? Well, we have the 6, so we must have the 12, and we get 6. Okay, so 3 laps in 6 minutes. There you have it. Okay, so for the first hands-on activity, we're going to look at what method they use to solve this issue. Now, we know that we can just use equivalent fractions, but so that you can visualize it, we see here what Jill did. Jill, in 12 minutes, was able to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 laps. You see that, right? So if you cut down the number of laps, right here, you have to cut down the number of time. You can see that right there, right? Because we only have 3 laps for Sammy. Each section represents 1 lap. Determine the number of minutes it took Jill to complete 1 lap. Well, the number of minutes, here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in 12 minutes. So if we were to count by 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. We can say that each lap took 2 minutes, right? So the way to figure that out is you take the 12 and you divide it into 6 parts, like they do here. 12 divided by 6, or 2 minutes, okay? Now we can continue on with determine the number of minutes it took Sammy to complete 3 laps. Well, Jill is 12 minutes and 6 laps. Let's cut that in half so you can see it right here. It's been cut in half, okay? If we continue to count by 2, we have 2, 4, 6, okay? 2, 4, 6, because each lap is 2 minutes. So each lap was completed in how many minutes? We already determined that it was 2, as you see right there, okay? So Sammy's time was 3 times 2, or 6 minutes, okay? So there we go. This is another way to solve it by using visuals. And in case you're wondering what this is Valentina at the beach running away from a big wave. I don't think she has a chance to get away. You can go ahead and try drawing this if you'd like to try it out. I'm curious to see how yours turns out. Okay, next question. Okay, on to page 68. There are 184 goldfish at a pet store. 184. This is what we know. 184. The goldfish are in 4 tanks, each with the same number of fish. Okay, so all these fish are in 4 tanks. So they are, and they all have the same number. Okay, so they're equally divided into 4 tanks. You see that? Is this number divisible by 4? Yes. The divisibility rule for 4 is if the last number is divisible by 4, the whole number is divisible by 4. So you can see that 4 is a number that can be divided into 4. So we're going to divide this into 4 so that we know how much are in each tank. Determine how many fish are in 3 tanks. Okay, so let's use a bar diagram to represent the total number of goldfish. We have 184 goldfish, and we know that they have to be divided into 4 tanks. So let's take 184 and divide it by 4. So how many 4s are in 184? Let's see, how many 4s are in 1? None. So we have to jump over to the next number. How many 4s are in 18? Well, 4 times 4 is 16. That's pretty close. Let's do 4 times 4. So we write the 4 up here, and we write the 16 down here. 4 times 4 is 16, and then we bring our 2 down. Okay, we subtract, and let's bring the 4 down. Okay, so that gives us 24. And now, what number do I have to multiply 4 into to get 24? So how many 4s are here? 4 times 6, right? 4 times 6 equals 24. And there we have our 0. Okay, so there are 46. How many 4s are in 46? How many 4s are in 184? 46. So let's go ahead and write down 46, 46, 46, and 46. There we go. So each tank has 46 goldfish, right? 46. But the question is, remember, we have to always look at what we know. We know this, but we always have to look at the question. What do they want us to solve? They want us to tell them how much are in 3. So in order for us to know how much there are in 3, we got to take that number, 46, and multiply it into 3, right? Multiply it by 3 so that we know. An easy way to multiply this is, the way I would do it is I would multiply 3 times 40, right? It's 3 times 4, you could say, or 3 times 40 is 120. And then 3 times 6 is 18, so 120 plus 18 is 138. Right? That's the way I do it mentally. 138. There we go. That's how many we have in 3/4. So 3/4 of 184 is 138. Now I think some of you remember that in 5th grade we learned that whenever we say a fraction of a number, we simply replace off with a multiplication sign. Like this. We have 3/4 times 184. And remember, we can change 184 to a fraction simply by placing it over 1. Okay? And then we can cross-reference. We cross-reference to see. And we know that when we cross-reference these two, we've already figured out how many 4s are in 186. So we just cross-reference and we cross this one out and we put 46 and we put the 1 here. Okay, I hope this is looking familiar to you guys. And then we just multiply it directly across because we've cross-referenced. So now I have 3 times 46 is 138 over 1. But we don't have to put the over 1. So you can just erase the over 1 right there and it's just 138. Okay, I hope this is a review. Please put a nice check mark right there if you remember how to do this from 5th grade. So then, in order to continue this, we say 134 divided by 4 is 46, just like we did here to solve this. Okay, so there are 46 times 3, or 138 goldfish in 3 tanks. So we would just multiply this number times 3, like we did up here. As you can see right there. Okay, moving on. Okay, bottom of page 68. Devin drove 171 miles in 3 hours. Okay, that's one thing we know. 171 miles in 3 hours. Logan drove 177 miles in 3 hours. So it looks like Logan drove an extra 6 miles, right, in 3 hours than Devin, right? An extra 6. At these rates, how many more miles can Logan drive in 7 hours? Okay, let's fill in what we know about Devin and Logan. We know that Devin drove 171 miles and Logan drove 177 miles. Okay, there we have it. And then we know that each one of them did it in 3 hours. So let's break the time into 3 sections. There's 3 hours there, right? And then we'll break this one down into 3 sections as well. And now we have to divide. But is 171 divisible by 3? What is the divisibility rule for 3? If all 3 numbers add up to a number that's divisible by 3, then it is divisible by 3. Let's see. 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 1 is 9. This will give me 9 if I added each digit together. And 9 is divisible by 3. Is 177 divisible by 3? Let's see. 7 plus 7 is 14, plus 1 is 15. 15 is a number that can be divided by 3, so this number is also divisible by 3. So 171 divided into 3 is 57, so it's 57 each time, right? 57 here as well, and 57 here as well. Those are 57 miles per each hour. There's another hour, and there's 1 hour, and there's another hour. So in total is 57 miles per hour. When I divide Logan's distance by 3, I get 59. So it's 59 per hour. Remember, this is the first hour, the second hour, and the third hour. Okay, so it looks like Logan drove 2 miles an hour faster than Devin, right? Because 59, 57, the difference is 2. So Logan drove 2 miles an hour faster. Label each section 1 hour. In 1 hour, Devin drove 171 divided by 3, okay, divided into 3, and we know it's 57 miles. And Logan drove 177 divided by 3, which we know it's 59 miles. So at the same rate, Devin will drive 7 hours at 57 miles an hour, or we can say 399, right? Because in 7 hours times 57 will be 399. Okay, so we can say that that's how long in 7 hours. Logan will do the same. Logan will drive 7 hours times 59, or we can say, what's 7 times 59? 413, right? So now we just have to find the difference, right? Because they're asking us how many more, right? I believe the question is, how many more miles can Logan drive in 7 hours? Okay? So now we just have to look for the difference. So Logan will drive, let's look for the difference, okay? Take the higher number and subtract it by the lower number, okay? So the higher number is 413 subtracted by 399, and it will give you 14 miles in 7 hours, okay? So Logan will drive 14 miles more in 7 hours than Devin. 14 more miles in 7 hours than Devin. Okay, boys and girls, I want you to work on pages 69 and 70 on your own, but for the last key answer, I figured that in my world, in my little story that I had going on, Ali decided to join Valentina at the beach on the same day, and he decided to go for a nice dive right into the ocean. Okay, so make sure that if you can do it, go ahead and draw Ali jumping into the ocean. See you in class.